Welcome to Reflect and Flow. In this class, we're going to focus on a peak pose called Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana. So it's a mouthful, but it's essentially requires balancing, core stability, hip flexion, and knee extension. And I'll guide you through every step of the way to kind of isolate some muscles that we need to activate and to integrate it all into one full practice. So all you need for class is 2 blocks. And previous to this, or to the movement practice, I always share a journal question, right? That's the reflect part of the flow portion of class. So the journal question is, how has this year changed your life? How has this year changed your life? So you're more than welcome to pause the video, take out a pen, a piece of paper, your journal, whatever you have to write with and write on, and then just reflect on that question before you get started with the movement part of the practice. All right. So we're going to get started with the movement practice. Again, 2 blocks is all you'll need. Just set them at the top of your mat and go ahead and lie all the way down on your back. Good. So lie in any position that feels comfortable to you. But what I will suggest is planting the feet to the floor and knocking the knees in towards one another. Now, if you try my suggestion, and like I said, it doesn't work, find something that does, that resonates with you right now. Rest your hands on your belly. You're welcome to close your eyes if that's accessible and available to you. Otherwise, just keep your eyes open, just maybe finding a softer gaze. Take a moment to just pause physically to arrive on your mat. This year has been a whirlwind, right? 2020, and so much at once in a relatively short period of time. And, reflecting is such a wonderful way to kind of look back with more of a neutral point of view, to kind of take in whatever information, whatever emotions and feelings that you felt, and to put it out there, to write it out, and then to move on. And so now that you have done that, you've written all that, and how this year has affected your life, has changed your life, whether you deem it as positive or negative, good or bad. Can you be present in this experience and perhaps start to notice the changes that occur physically within your body and how that affects everything from there? Start with the breath, in and out of the nose. And as you breathe, can you be curious about it and just notice the movement involved? Perhaps you feel with your hands on your belly movement, expansion and contraction with each inhalation, each exhalation. And with your back against the floor, perhaps you feel the back doing the same exact thing. And even though your hands are not to the sides of the waist, see if you can focus your intention, your energy on the sides as well, creating a full 360-degree sense of movement. Can you bring your awareness to the pelvis, and perhaps you sense some movement there, the pelvic floor? Take just a couple more cycles of breath, bringing your awareness to the center of your body, what we often call the core area of which we find strength and stability from, our power center. Notice how it can also be soft. It can be expansive and full. 3 more cycles of breath here. And then Gently turn your head from side to side like you're saying no, and just notice the full range of motion here. Any areas that might be a little stuck. And then just nod up and down. Full sense of extension and flexion in the neck. Good. And then hug your knees to your chest and rock from side to side. And as you rock your body from side to side, notice a little massage along your back. Take your hands to your kneecaps and circle your thigh bones in one direction, big circles, as if your thighs are egg beaters. And then take those circles in the other direction, just noticing the movement of the thigh bones within the hip sockets. And then hug your right knee to your chest, holding around the shin bone, and lengthen your left leg forward on the ground. Good. Now, as you pull that right knee in, you're essentially doing a passive static stretch. So you're holding in one position and you're using the leverage of your arms to help guide that knee as close as you can to your chest. Just notice where your end range is, where your body eventually tells you that's enough, where you stop. You can keep your left leg fully relaxed to the floor as you do this. And then now let go with your hands and try to keep your knee in as tight as possible. Keep your left leg relaxed on the floor for right now. So left leg fully straight on the ground. Good. Then from here, all you have to do is press your right leg forward a little bit, keeping the bend in the knee, and then draw the leg back in. So you're just decreasing how much hip flexion you have, but you maintain the knee flexion. So the knee stays bent. Keep going. Good. Last one, pressing forward and back in. Good. Hold. Lift your head up and reach your arms forward. Palms are facing one another. Good. Lift your left leg off the ground to a slight hover. Now, if you find this is putting a little too much pressure on your lower back, lift your left leg even higher, or you can even bend the knee. Now, from here, see if you can do the same thing. Press your right leg forward and draw the right knee back in. And as you do that, exhale every time you're drawing the knee in. Inhale, you're pushing the leg forward. Exhale, you're pulling the knee in. And notice the difference in how this feels from when you're doing that static hold to now when you're moving more actively and dynamically. Take two more. And last one. Good. Hold. Stay here. Arms reaching forward. Lift your head up a little bit higher. Draw the knee in as tight as you can without using your arms just yet. Good. Now, hold around the shin with your hands. Relax your head to the ground and lengthen your left leg along the floor. Good. As you pull that right knee in, you may notice now you have much more range of hip flexion. And all we essentially did was tell the hip, or the brain, right, that you have control of the hip in this range, and maybe you can go a little further. Lengthen your right leg to the ceiling. You can choose to plant your left foot to the floor, your choice. But right now, no holding behind your right leg. Now, from here, your choice on whether you point the toes or flex the toes. Okay, so just make a decision on one, because we're going to do the other in a moment. So just bend the knee. Actually, let's just start with the pointed toe. We'll do the flex toe in a moment. So point your toes, just bend your knee all the way until your heel kicks towards your butt. And then lengthen your leg, re-lengthening the knee. Good. Keep doing that with the toes pointed. Maybe you close your eyes and kind of become curious, inspecting, what do you notice here? What sensations come up, and where do you feel the sensations? So you may find with the toes pointed, you create a little bit more length through the front of the ankle, shin, and foot. Okay, now, so flex your toes. So flexing the toes down towards your face or towards the floor. And then keeping your leg in this position, bend your knee and straighten your leg all the way. And instead of bending at the hip, Gita, just bend your knee. Yes. Heel towards your butt and back up. Good. And as you do this, again, notice what you feel. Any difference in sensation, the intensity of that sensation, or where you feel it. By developing this practice of discernment in the movement part of the practice or in your body, makes it a lot easier to take that practice and apply it in other aspects of your life, right? For example, to discern in the mind. Not to judge or to form, I guess you can say, opinions on black and white, good and bad, right or wrong, but just to notice, right? To be an observant and mindful person. Okay, so now hold with the leg extended. And same thing, passively hold behind your right thigh or your upper calf, your choice, and then guide your leg towards your chest using the leverage of your arms. Notice how much hip flexion you have, but now with the added work of knee extension. Okay, so keeping that, we're gonna make this a bit more active, still static, but active. So push your leg to your hands, but pull your hands towards your leg. So you have equal resistance in both directions, and then hold here, breathe. Now, can you keep your leg exactly where it is, but let go with your arms? Take tiny little circles with your entire leg, not just the ankle, but your full leg in one direction. And then take those circles in the other direction. Think maybe about a 6-inch circumference all the way around. And then hug both knees to your chest and rock from side to side. Good. Let's do all of that on the other side. So hug your left knee to your chest. Lengthen your right leg along the floor. And using the leverage of your arms, pull the leg towards your chest. Good. Just notice how much hip flexion you have right now. Hold and breathe. Good. Now lift your head up. Reach your arms forward. Oh, sorry, head stays down. Arms relaxed by your side. Forgot about this step here. So arms relaxed by your side, the knee stays in as tight as you can keep it. Then just press your leg forward a little bit, keeping the knee bent. And then draw your knee back in towards your chest. So pushing forward and pulling back in. Good. Notice at a certain point, right, your hip goes to the maximum point of flexion, and then you start to flex more in your spine, right, in your lower spine. So see if you can just find a maximum amount of hip flexion, but without rounding your back, especially your mid-upper back. The pelvis will naturally start to kind of tilt. Let's see if you can try to keep your lower and mid-upper back out of the equation as much as possible. Good. Now, keep the knee as tight as you can towards your chest. Lift your head up, reach your arms forward, and hover your right leg off the ground. Now, if it feels a little too heavy of a load, you can bend the knee, or you can lengthen your leg a bit more towards the ceiling. So pause wherever you are. Press the leg forward a little bit. Notice my knee is still bent. And then draw the knee in as tight as you can. Good. Do that a couple more times. Pressing it forward. Exhale, drawing it. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. 2 more. Hold. Lift up a little bit higher. Left knee in, right leg forward. Hold here for 5. Lift your head up. Draw the knee in as tight as you can. 4, 3, 2. Hold around the leg. Lower your head and leg down and pull the knee in. You may find you can go a little further than when you started. Good. Your choice here to keep your right leg lengthened or plant your right leg to the ground as the left leg lengthens to the ceiling. Good. So start with the toes pointed or in plantar flexion, and then keeping your leg in this or the ankle in this position, bend at the knee and lengthen the knee. So flexing the knee, extending the knee. As you do this, just notice what you notice. Okay, and then flex your toes down towards your face. It's like you're stamping your foot along the ceiling. So now you're in dorsiflexion, keeping your foot in this position, just bending and extending at the knee. Good. So such a subtle difference, right? Just moving the ankle could impact where you feel the stretch and activation in the leg. Now, it's very easy to kind of start adding your perspective or your opinion to what you're perceiving, right? To say, I like this, I don't like this, this is good, this is bad, right or wrong. But I want you to just notice the difference. And then as you arrive at this shape, standing, you can make a decision based off of what you've noticed. Okay, now pause with your leg lengthened, and then hold behind your leg with your hands. You can do whatever you want with your foot, pointing or flexing, your choice here. But passively draw your knee in or your leg in towards your chest, keeping the leg lengthened. So draw your knee in as close as you can towards your chest using the leverage of your arms. Good. Now, try to keep that range, but push your leg towards your hands and hands towards your leg. So there's resistance. Hold here and breathe for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then now pause, relax that resistance, and relax your arms by your side. You may notice that you have more control. Now circle your leg in one direction. And this shape here is essentially what we're going to be doing standing. You can straighten the right leg so you can kind of get a feel for what I'm talking about. Take those circles in the other direction. Good. Hug both knees to your chest. Rock from side to side. Good. So now we're going to take the shape of Utthita Hasta, but kind of literally roll with it side to side. So you can watch me here as I guide you. So arms out wide, lengthen both legs to the ceiling. And again, your choice whether you want to flex your toes or point your toes, plantar flex or dorsiflex, okay? Then think about finding a bit of a tilt or posterior tilt of your pelvis. You're tilting the back of your pelvis towards the floor, rounding your back into the ground a little bit. Then pause, keep your right leg in as tight as you can to your chest, lengthen your left leg forward. Good. And then switch. Do that a couple more times, switching. But as you switch, try to keep that slight posterior tilt of the pelvis. Think tailbone curling underneath you. It's going to help maintain a little bit more length of your back and a little bit more proximal stability around the waist. Good. Now pause, keeping what? Your right leg up, left leg forward. Good. Keeping the arms out wide, you're going to slowly roll towards your left. Now, as you roll towards your left, watch as I slide my left arm out from underneath my chest and I roll to my belly. My right knee is going to be out to the side. So you're basically in a half frog position. Right knee is bent and out to the side as you rest on your belly. Good. So kind of creating an inner thigh stretch here. Now keep in mind, we're going to be rolling side to side. So hopefully you have enough space beside you. If you don't, you can always move things out of the way or adjust your mat. And then also keep in mind, you're going to be rolling off the mat. So don't worry about having to scoop back on every time. So from here, you're going to take your left arm, weave it under your right armpit as you roll to your back, right leg up, left leg forward. Then switch your legs, left leg up, right leg forward. Roll to your right. As you bend the knee, you're going to come to your belly. So this requires a little bit of coordination, yes, but more than anything, coordination, not necessarily of the movement, but more so of your joints, coordination of your muscles. Good. We're going to do that one more time to each side. So slowly unwind to your back. Left leg up, right leg forward, arms out wide. Then switch your legs, right leg up, left leg forward. You're going to roll to the right onto your belly. Roll to your right hand side. Yeah, or sorry, to your left hand side. There you go. So you kind of have to unwind your left arm to get to your belly. Same to come to your back. So notice I'm weaving my left arm under my right armpit. I roll to my back, right leg up, left leg forward. Then you switch your legs. Left leg up, right leg forward. You're going to roll to your right, unwinding right arm underneath the left, coming to your belly. Good. So a coordination of your core muscles, right? Then again, you unwind, weaving your right arm underneath your left. Come to your back, left leg up, right leg forward. Then hug both knees to your chest and rock from side to side. Good. Plant your feet to the ground, making sure your feet are planted about hips width distance apart underneath your knees. Then, once you have the legs set up, take your fingertips to the front of your hips, those two little bony protrusions, really more so at the front of your pelvis than anything. Then from here, press your feet into the ground, lift your hips up. Good. So with your fingers to the front of your pelvis, notice if one side is lifting higher than the other. You can use this external feedback, this proprioception, to help tell if your one hip is higher than the other. Try to level that out. Then right leg goes to the ceiling. This is going to make things a little more challenging. One hip may want to hike up to the shoulder. One hip may want to hike up to the ceiling. Try to keep them equally level. Then plant your right foot down. And essentially, we're going to be marching here. Keep your hips level as much as possible and take your left leg to the ceiling. Notice if one hip is hiking up to the ceiling or towards the shoulder. Keep them as level as possible. Then again, lower that left foot down, lift your right leg up. See if you can adjust based on what you said. And then lower that foot down and switch again. Again, you can point your toes, you can flex your toes. Continue marching here. You may start to notice one side feels a lot easier than the other. It's not that that's bad or wrong. It's actually good information. Gives you a lot of information here. One more to each side. And then lower back down. Rest your hips to the floor and windshield wiper the legs from side to side. Good. Hug your knees back to your chest. Rock from side to side. And go ahead and rock yourself up. Good. One final thing to kind of activate a bit more through the lower body is knee rotations. So yes, the knee is oftentimes associated as a hinge joint, right? Where you just bend or extend and bend. But there's also a little bit of rotation, right? Just like your forearm. So you're going to hold above your knee right at your thigh and stiffen the ankle. So you're going to take your heel to the floor, flexing the toes towards your face. Now, as you stiffen the ankle and restrict the thigh from moving, right? You want to try to move up the shin bone. So look at your shin bone as you rotate it out and in. Now, your body is smart in the sense that it wants to find the path of least resistance, but because it's smart, it also cheats. So notice if your ankle is trying to take on the movement. And you'll know because the ankle will try to on a couple extra degrees of rotation at the last bit, the last little bit where you get stuck or you stop. So try not to allow that to happen, even if that means the range is smaller than what you expect or what you want. The wonderful thing about this practice, especially in the movement part of it, is that it really teaches us how we form expectations and attachments and aversions, and how that essentially creates suffering, right? We bind to those things, and it makes it difficult for us to adapt, to be resilient. And essentially, yoga is a tool, the whole practice is a tool to help us be that, to be more resilient. Go ahead and lengthen your legs out. And you may notice a difference in feeling between your leg that you just worked and the leg that you didn't. Just kind of take a moment to kind of observe that. I personally always feel that the leg I worked, the knee feels almost lighter. So let's do that on the other side. So you're going to hold above your knee at your thigh, stiffening the thigh, stiffening the ankle. Good. Now again, look at your shin bone, not your ankle, and try to rotate the shin out and rotate the shin in. Good. Try not to move your ankle, Gita. See if you can stiffen the ankle and try to rotate from the shin bone as much as possible. I find slowing down, especially at the beginning, really helps to get that movement pattern down. Good. I know it's a very awkward movement. We don't normally isolate our muscles and these movements in such a specific way like this, especially at the knee joint. It's really good for the knee joint to, really all the joints to be capable of moving in all the directions it's meant to move or available. All right, so go ahead and lengthen both legs out. You may find both knees just feel a little lighter. So go ahead and come onto your hands and knees. We're going to prep the wrists since we are going to be on the hands a little bit. So start with the palms down, spreading through the fingertips, stacking your elbows under your shoulders. That may mean your hands are a little wider than shoulder width distance. And then just rock your body forward and back. Just starting with that. Just kind of prepping the wrist for loading here. Now, as you rock forward, the tendency, right, is to kind of sink into the palm, the center of the palm. See if you can keep the center of the palm relatively light, not necessarily that you're going to lift the palm off the floor. You want to keep the palm flat or the hand flat, but grip into your fingertips and grip into your knuckles, almost like you're creating a suction cup in the middle of your palms. And then circle your body in one direction, big circles. Just noticing how you distribute your weight as you are pressing into the hands. And then take those circles in the other direction. Again, grip into the fingertips, grip into your knuckles, starting to develop your hand strength, your grip strength. Especially when you're practicing on the mat, on the floor. If you're not used to that, then your hands can get tired. You can start to develop, like carpal tunnel syndrome, things like that. Okay, so hold with your stacked elbows or shoulders over the elbows. Then from here, lift your palms or thumbs off the floor, just your thumbs. Good. And then if you find that already this is a lot of pressure on the hands, start to crawl your knees a little closer towards your wrists. Good. Then pause. Try to keep your thumbs off the ground, but now add your palms lifting off the ground. Good. And then lower back down and then lift back up. Good. Do that a couple more times. And then you can sit on your heels or on your knees and then shake out the wrists here. All right, so come back onto your hands and knees, tabletop position. And we're gonna start with stability, okay, in the core. Proximal stability, which is essentially what we did lying down. So actually, to make things a lot more challenging and to make it a bit more honest, take one of your blocks to the back of your pelvis, the lowest and widest setting. Once you have it set up, it's stable, right? And you want to use this as feedback, right? So if you start to arch in your back or sink, you'll feel the block tilting forward. And if you start to round, you'll feel like the block's going to fall off towards the floor. So you want to find that neutral point right in between those two. Push into your hands and feel that engagement all the way around your waist. Once you're there, extend your right leg behind you. Your choice on whether you flex your toes down or point your toes back, your choice. Left arm reaches forward. Good. Pause. Now with the hand and knee that's to the ground, imagine like you're trying to pull them towards one another. With the arm and leg that's lifted, imagine like you're trying to press it towards the ceiling. Now take a deep inhale here. Stay with me. Exhale, round inward. Tap elbow to knee or hand to knee. Good. Now inhale, reach. And as you round inward, what I mean is find hip flexion. Again, exhale, flex the hip, flex the knee, and tap elbow or knee or hand to the knee. One more. Good. Keep going. Elbow to knee or hand to knee. Good. And then lower that hand and leg down and switch sides. Need to readjust the block in between. Go ahead. Good. Inhale first. Exhale, tap elbow to knee or hand to knee. Now, if tapping the elbow to knee creates too much of that spinal flexion, then tap your hand to knee, because the focus right now is not on spinal flexion, it's more on hip flexion. We want to actually keep the core stable. Good. Lower that hand and knee to the floor and move the block out of the way. Set it to the side. Okay. Now we want to keep that idea of stability, but adding on movement of the spine. So think more mobility, right? So movement with control. So stay on your hands and knees. Inhale, arch your back, look up towards the ceiling. Cow pose. As you do this, as you look up to the ceiling and guide your tailbone to the ceiling, imagine like you're pulling hands to knees, knees to hands, and keeping the front of your belly taut. Exhale, round, push into the floor as you curl the chin to the chest and the round through the upper spine. Good. Keep going, arching and rounding. Good. Last one. And then come back to neutral in the spine. Pushing down through your hands, gripping into your fingertips, gripping into your knuckles. Take your hands onto your two blocks, placing the blocks either level 1 or level 2. You can use that for added feedback to grip into, and find downward facing dog. Tuck the toes, elevate the pelvis up and back as you push down into your hands. Good. It's like you're trying to push away from the floor at an angle. Good. Now pause. Lift your right leg to the ceiling. Keep the right leg lengthened. Your choice on whether you point the toes or flex the toes, but try to avoid opening the hip to the side. Keep both front of the pelvis level and facing the floor. Good. Exhale, round your back as you draw your knee to your nose, sliding forward into your plank. Knee to nose. So you're finding hip flexion mixed with spinal flexion. Inhale, take your right leg up and back. Exhale, draw your knee back to your nose. Push the ground away. This time, try to eliminate the knee to nose, more hip flexion. Spine will flex a little bit, but instead of drawing knee to nose, keep your gaze forward. Last one, inhale, right leg up and back. Exhale, draw the knee to the chest. Keep your gaze forward. Start to lengthen the knee and see if you can plant your right foot to the floor out in front. So you're in your low lunge. Good. Bring the blocks a little higher, level 2. Grip into the fingertips, grip into the block, push the block away, and see if you can come onto the tippy toes. So the right heel's going to lift off the floor. Right heel's going to lift off the floor. Just the right heel. Left leg stays back. Good. Then pause, lower the right heel down, and lift the right toes up. So yes, your toes will be in dorsiflexion. Good. Now you can stay with that, or you can push down into the hands, Draw the knee to your chest as high as you can, actively and statically, and see if you can maybe hover the foot off the floor. Good. Hold here for 3, 2, and 1. Lower the foot back down. Good. Lower your back knee to the floor. You can untuck the back toes or tuck them, your choice. Inhale, reach the arms up to the ceiling. So in your crescent moon. Bring tailbone down, front of the pelvis up, almost like you're trying to tuck the tailbone. And notice how you create a little bit more length or that sensation of length in the front of the left hip. Take your arms out wide like the letter T, make this with your hands, and maybe you lift your right leg up. Right knee up. Finding your balance. Hip flexion on the right side, hip extension on the left side. Good. Lower the right foot down. Reach the arms up. Inhale. Tuck the back toes under. Lift off your back knee and take your arms by your side. Think fingertips back, chest forward. Good. Keeping the position of your legs, just grab your 2 blocks. Take them a little bit out in front of you onto level 3. Good. Now pause. Hands can come to your waist or they can come by your side. As you ground into that right foot, dig down to the heel. Feel the back of the right leg engage. As you stand, drive your left knee up to your chest. Now it may take a little bit of time to find your balance. But once you find it, see if you can hold around your leg and passively draw your knee to your chest. Dig down through the right heel. Feel the back of the right foot engage, just like when you're lying on your back. Now, can you keep your leg where it is, but let go with your arms? Maybe you play with kicking your leg out. How far you kick, your choice. Rebend and rest. Good. Both feet beside one another. Relax your arms by your side. Good. Take a breath in and a breath out. Good. Reach the arms up. Inhale. Exhale. Fold down to the blocks. Fingertips to the blocks. Lift halfway. So fingertips to those blocks. Lengthen out through the top of the head. Now pause. Keeping your hip in that flex position, 90 degrees, and the spine in this lengthened position. See if you can engage a bit more all the way around the waist. Now from here, keep your right leg grounded. Can you kick your left leg behind you? Warrior 3. So this is exactly what we'll be doing standing, what you did a moment ago, but just notice the difference. The work, you're probably feeling more in the back leg versus the front leg, right? Because you're working against gravity in a different way. Then switch to the other side. Left foot down, right leg back. And then lower both feet down and fold. Again, lift halfway, fingertips onto those blocks. Then lower the blocks down, either level 2 or level 1 as you step back, downward facing dog. Now, if you have a level 1, they may feel like they're trying to slide up from underneath you. So instead of pushing forward, push down. Then ground into your right leg, left leg goes up and back. Take a deep inhale, your choice on whether you point the toes or flex the toes. Draw your knee to your nose. So I want you to find full flexion of your spine as you slide forward like you're in a plank and drag the knee in as tight as you can. So you have hip flexion and spinal flexion. Take your leg up and back. Inhale. This time knee to chest. No rounding your upper back. So keep your gaze forward. Last one. Inhale. Exhale, knee to your chest, slide forward, look forward, pause. Good. So we're trying to eliminate the spinal flexion in the upper back as much as possible. Then see if you can step your left foot through into your lunge. Good. If your blocks were level 1, now bring them to level 2. Grip into the blocks and push the floor away. So you're straightening those arms and creating more of the spread of your shoulder blades on your back. Good, now look out in front of you instead of underneath you. Come onto your tippy toes. So the heel is going to lift off the ground. Good. Keep pushing into your hands like you're in plank in the upper body. Then switch, lower the heel down and lift your toes up. So you're in that dorsiflexion in the ankle. Then lower down. So you can stick with one of those. You're still getting quite a bit of activation in the front and the back of the leg. Or you can add on more activation in the front of the hip, front of the thigh, by pushing into your hands. And maybe you hover the foot off the floor. We're here for 3, 2, and 1 rest. Good. Now pause. Bring those blocks to level 3 a little bit out in front of you. Keep them there as you lower the back knee down and reach the arms up. Arms come out wide. Make this with your hands. Press down into the right shin bone. Maybe you come onto your left tippy toes. Maybe you lift your foot up. And then from there, perhaps you play with finding more hip flexion, knee to your chest. Good. Lower the foot down. Reach the arms up, inhale. Tuck the back toes under. Take your arms by your side as you lift off your back knee. Chest forward. Left leg is nice and strong. Back toes are nice and light. Hands can stay by your side, or you can bring them to your waist as you ground into your left foot and drive your right knee up to your chest. One-legged Tadasana. Now passively and statically hold around your leg and draw your knee in as tight as you can. Good. Notice how as you draw the knee in, pressing down through the left heel and engaging the back of the left glute helps to give you more stability here. Now hold. See if you can keep your leg where it is, but release your arms by your side. Maybe you play with kicking your right leg out. And then rest. Lower the right leg to the floor. You can shake out the legs. Good. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, fold down to the nose. Fingertips to your blocks. Inhale, lift halfway. Good. So you're set up in the upper body for warrior 3. Now let's add the legs. So right foot is your foundation. Lengthen your left leg behind you. Again, toes can point or flex, but see if you can keep both hips level and the front of the pelvis pointing forward. Then go ahead and switch sides. See if you can get lighter on your fingertips. Nice and stable through the core, everything drawing in towards the center. Then lower both feet down and fold. Lift halfway, so fingertips to those blocks, lengthen out to the top of the head. But this time, take your hands to the floor, not to the blocks, and step back, down and facing up. Good. Crawl your hands to your feet at the back of your mat. You can bend your knees or keep your legs lengthened as you roll up, your choice. Good. So to start, come to a wall or come to a place where you can use for balance. Okay, we're going to play with this pose, Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana, hand to foot pose extended, right? Extended hand to foot pose. So bring your right hand to the support, left hand to your wrist. You're balancing on your right leg. Left knee draws to your chest. So right now we're just using the support for balance purposes. Hug your knee in as tight as you can with the hand that's free. Engage the back of the glute and push down to the heel of the standing leg, okay? Then you can stay here. Maybe you work with the extended, right? So you take your peace fingers and you grab your big toe. Okay, so this could be where you stay, okay? Perhaps you play with lengthening your leg. Now, I know you're using leverage, right? You're holding your foot. But let's see what happens when we let go of the foot. You're going to probably have to be a lot more active, right? So see from here, you can engage the front of the hip, engage the back of the left glute, engage around your waist, keep the right leg lengthened, and let go of the foot. Maybe you take your hands off that support to your wrist. And then lower down. Good. So it's going to require a lot more of you, right? More stability in the core, engagement all the way around the pelvis. Now let's try that on the other side. So you're going to take your hand onto that support wherever it may be. I'll just turn a little bit sideways here. Then you're going to stand on your left leg. Right knee is going to lift up to your chest. Good. Now pause. Draw the knee in as tight as you can, but as you do that, press down through the foot that's to the floor and engage the back of the glute that's that you're standing on. Then pause. Maybe you stay here. Perhaps you take your peace fingers and grab your big toe. Not one is better than the other. It's just different, right? So find where you would like to be today. Maybe you lengthen the leg forward versus out to the side. Good. Now, lengthen your leg as much as possible, then let go with the hand. You can take your hands to your waist, to the wall, but notice eventually how the leg starts to drop, right? Because it gets heavy. Lots of core stability, hip engagement, glute work in the standing leg, then rest. Let both feet drop. Relax your arms by your side. Close your eyes, just pause. Feeling the work in your physical body today. And how has that been received mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all aspects? Take a breath in and a full breath out. Good. If you were at the wall, come to the back of your mat. Reach the arms up to the ceiling. Inhale. Exhale, fold down to the floor. Good. Crawl forward, come back into downward facing dog. Ground into your hands, step your right foot just outside of your right hand. Option to lower the back knee to the floor. You can take a block underneath your left hand. As you kick your left heel towards your butt, you can reach around and grab the foot. Try to keep the spine upright as much as possible to create more hip extension and that sensation of the stretch in the front of the hip or thigh. Good. Both hands down. You can move the block to the side. Step back. Downward facing dog. Good. Other side. Step your left foot just outside of your left hand. Lower the right knee to the floor. And I personally like to add a little extra support. You can take a block under the right hand. Option to stay here. Maybe you kick your right heel to your butt. Maybe you reach around and grab the foot. Now, if you're grabbing the foot again, see if you can work towards creating more lift of the chest, length of the spine. Then release if you have the foot, both hands to the ground. Move the block out of the way and step back, downward facing dog. Good. Now look forward, see your hands. You can hop, step, walk to the top of the mat, and have a seat. Good. As you sit all the way to the floor, go ahead and grab one of your blocks. Hold it out in front of you in your hands, like so. Straighten your legs on the floor, and then slowly roll to your back. As you lie all the way down, take a full body stretch. Reach the arms overhead. Find a big sigh, find a big yawn. Good. Then plant your feet to the floor. Lift your hips up and slide that block you took beside you under your pelvis, so you're in your supported bridge. Option to keep the feet planted. Maybe you lengthen the legs out. Maybe you reach the arms overhead. Good. And then plant your feet back down. Lift your hips up and move the block out to the side. As you do so, lower your pelvis to the floor. Good. One final little release for the hips and the pelvis before we completely close out. Take your fingers to the front of your pelvis, those two bony protrusions. And I want you to imagine that you're going to do the wave with your spine and with your hips. You can watch me if you like first, kind of get an idea for what I'm talking about. So feet will be planted. From here, you're going to round your back into the floor. So think posterior pelvic tilt. So you're trying to tilt the back of the pelvis forward towards your feet. Then you're going to curl up off the floor, one vertebrae at a time. So the lower part of the tailbone, pelvis, back, all the way towards your mid-upper back. Now, as you lower down, you're going to arch your back. So front of the pelvis tilts forward, anterior pelvic tilt. Drop the tailbone down first, then slowly start to round your lower back, mid back, and upper back. Again, rounding up as you inhale and arching down as you exhale. So again, it's like you're doing the wave with your spine and your pelvis in this bridge, making it a little bit more fluid than maybe a more traditional version of this shape. Take two more. And then once you're done, you can relax. Windshield wiper the legs from side to side. And then come into any position that feels comfortable for you. So you can sit, you can lie on your back, you can lie on your belly, on your side, your choice. Rest your arms either by your side, on your belly, in your lap, whatever works. Maybe you close your eyes or at least soften your gaze. Bring your awareness back to the breath, just like how we started. And as you do so, just notice the physical sensations that are brought on by the active breathing, or that create the active breathing. Perhaps because of the movement practice, the mind is a bit more at ease, a bit more still. Part of the human experience, I think, is interacting with our surroundings and our experiences by forming opinions and labeling things and creating judgments and based off our observations. But at the same time, it can also do us a disservice, because from that we can form attachments and aversions, likes and dislikes. We can view things in very black and white terms of good and bad, or right and wrong. In this practice and today's journal reflection, right, on how has this year changed your life? The question isn't how has this year been a positive or negative influence on your life, but how has it just changed it? It allows us to reflect on things from a more observant point of view, just like this work here on the mat has, and to essentially form decisions. We get to make choices based on what we observe. We get to decide on how we move forward with those choices, to be a bit more informed and grounded and mindful human beings. Take just 3 more cycles of breath here before you move on. And then as you are ready, you can find some gentle movement, wiggling the fingers and the toes, or turning your head from side to side and up and down. You can circle the wrists and the ankles in one direction, the other. Maybe you find a full body stretch. And once you are ready, meet me in a comfortable seat. Maybe resting hands to your thighs. As you move forward, rather into the rest of your day, your week, into the new year, keep in mind that this work is not just exclusive to the mat you sit on, but in fact, the work is meant to be explored and to be utilized in your daily life. Otherwise, that's really the point of all of this. So I highly encourage you to continue reflecting on your experiences just as you did today. And to use this work to, like I said, be a bit more mindful, grounded, and informed. I thank you for joining me for this practice and sharing your energy. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much.